everyone. I am so excited to be having this conversation. One of the things that I have been thinking about recently is the fact that I would love to be having conversations with other people, really trying to start the conversation about everything that we're going through currently as a human race, right? There's just so much that's currently happening, and one of the things that I have been truly thinking about is I feel like the best way to process this moment that we're in is to truly find a way to have conversations that help us think through what these next steps are going to be. And this conversation in particular, I am super excited about. I have invited someone to speak with me today that I think is just such a lovely human being. I think that you all are going to think she's a lovely human being as well. Before I bring her on, I want to remind you that even though we're having this conversation today, we will definitely be sharing this on the podcast, which is available both on Apple and on Spotify. So you will have a chance to hear this conversation again. But let me go ahead and bring on my friend and our guest for today. Let's see. While she's connecting. Yes. Hey. Hi, Sarah. How are you?
I'm doing okay. Like I was telling you earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the things, it's so funny because I was actually thinking about this the other day. Ever since the pandemic, I've been really cognizant of when I ask people, how are you? Because I don't think that people can actually answer that fully and truthfully
Yeah.
in the way the world is right now. So I get it. It's a crazy time we're in, right?
Yeah. I was actually just talking to my friend the other day, and we were just talking about how it's such a loaded question now, and I feel like everyone's in the same boat. We're all just kind of trying to live day by day together and get through this.
Yeah, and to your point, trying to live life day by day, considering that what we know to be life is changing day by day.
Hmm. Exactly.
Like, so there's really no chance for you to ever fully calibrate and fully like, okay, I know where I am because the marker just keeps moving every single day.
Yeah. Hmm.
So I was talking to you before we jumped on live, and I was saying that I definitely want you to introduce yourself just so that people know who you are, both as a person and an artist, anything that you want to share.
Yeah. So my name is Sarah Nandola. I just graduated from Columbia College Chicago. I'm currently in the process of figuring out if I want to move to New York or to LA to continue to pursue um, my my love of theater. I just graduated in musical theater, particularly, um, and I'm a brown actress. I'm an Indian. I am Indian. Yeah, I don't know. That's
Well, one of the reasons I said to you, one of the reasons why I wanted to have this conversation is you and I met in New York in a sort of like a master class. It was like a 3 or 4 day master class. And I was saying to you that I was so drawn to you as an actor. I didn't know you as a person, but I was drawn to you as an actor because I just felt you were so genuine, which I think is like base level what you need in order to do beautiful work. And I found you to be such a genuine person. And so we started following each other on Instagram, and I still think you're lovely. And one of the reasons why I wanted to have this conversation with you is because, to your point, you just graduated from university, and sort of the world that you thought you were graduating into changed like within a moment. And I was saying to you before that I can remember specifically, we were hearing things about the pandemic. We were hearing, globally the impact that it was having. But here in the States, it still felt like a very far off concept. And then it just seemed to subsume everything within a moment. And I was saying to you that we were like in the thick of audition season.
yeah.
Running around frantically trying to make all these auditions. And within a day, it just seemed like everything stopped.
Mhm.
And I was thinking about that in particular for someone like you who just graduated, and now you're sort of thinking to yourself, well, what is the next step? And so I'm curious for you, you said you were thinking about possibly moving to one of these places like New York or LA. I'm
Yeah.
curious from your perspective, how what do you think is going to be the determining factor to help you make some of those decisions about what those next steps are going to be?
I feel like a big part of it is going to see how, I guess, first, like the film and TV industry are going to react to this. Because, one, I think overall, as an artist, like we're starting to see more of people who look like us on screen, which seems like I can grasp onto that and like be a part of that easier. And also, it's like a wider broadcast. But then also in New York, yeah, I guess you just have to, I'm waiting to see their responses to this, because a big part of going into the industry now is going to be holding myself and others I work with accountable for their actions, and how they're going to stop, you know, holding on to this white supremacy that is within the community that we thought was so liberal. Uh, yeah.
Yeah, it's so true. And I think, again, part of the reason why I wanted to have this conversation with you is that, when you are any sort of a person that checks another box, right? Like you don't check sort of that mainstream box. It You are inherently aware of how the industry is responding to you. You have to be in order to survive in this business. And so it's an interesting time that we find ourselves in, because I think for the first time that conversation is happening with other people outside of that brown black bubble.
Yeah.
And I think that there's been a difficulty, I would have to say, on my part in watching some of these conversations, because I feel like those conversations are happening 20 years behind where it
Hmm.
should be. Because I feel like as a community of Black and Brown actors and performers, we've been having this conversation like every single day.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, for you in particular, with everything that's happening in our country around race, around bias, around systemic oppression, how are you processing that? Like, where does your mind sort of like package where we are in the world right now?
Yeah. Well, it's been a lot for me to process, and it's been incredibly emotionally draining, because I have to look within myself, and I have to look within my own prejudices and my own biases, because like I could think as a brown person that I am exempt from being racist because I face racism, but I've also had to understand that I don't deal with the socioeconomic disadvantages, being born as like being Indian, and understanding like what I have to do better and where I have to put my money, and the conversations I have to have with people, and the racism. Like, I have a lot of white friends and a lot of white family too. Um, like the racism that they talk about, and I just have to be a better ally overall, and I'm working on it every day, and it's been a lot to process, um, like just my my differences within that. And I feel like within the theater community I can relate more, and that's where I feel like I can be the best ally right now too, because I think we're all in the same boat of not seeing any representation and being a token when being cast. And then you're supposed to feel grateful, and you're supposed to like feel really good that they're giving you this opportunity